Today I'd like to give you a bird's eye view of our practice. So you can see the whole big picture of what we are learning and how we want to organize it so you can come in and you can learn and you know where you can practice and you see the big picture. Now to do that, we need to go back to the very basic teaching, and this is probably the assumption that is was in Avatamsaka Sutra. It's also the foundation for our philosophy and everything. And this is, if you take a look at this, what I'm writing here, that Avatamsaka Sutra, Huayan Sutra, the scripture, it said that the ever-present, the true mind is always here, is beyond birth and death, and this ever-present is always there. And yet there is two dynamics is constantly within the ever-present, and one dynamic is the light. That we keep growing the light, we don't grow the light, but the other darkness is also constantly growing, the ever-growing darkness. Now the interesting part of this exercise is this, that sometimes we didn't realize that both of them are competing. The light and the darkness is competing. However, we don't know how to fit the ever-present light into our daily practice. Where is it? Now let me give you an example. You have a house or you have a ground, open ground. And if you have a house, when you buy a house, there's nothing in there, it's an empty house, and you start to see it's needed. You need to have a bed, you need to have a chair, you need to have a little table here and table there, and then suddenly you have a family, you need more stuff. You need maybe 3 beds, 3 bedrooms, you need to have more chairs, and then you start to buy TV, lamps, bookcase, blah, 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 so many. And slowly, this necessary stuff become no longer necessary. It's more than you need. And you realize that we buy and we keep buying. Every time we keep buying, and the shopping mall is open up to help us to realize that we need to keep buying and buying and buying every day. We make money to buy more, but then sometimes that it's going to be too much. The house will be full, and get rid of them. When it's too much stuff, the house becomes so dark. The ever-growing darkness, it's so dark. But the house itself is a space that is have nothing wrong to have that space like that. So the ever-present mind, the true mind, is like the house, always there, but we never realize it. We focus on the stuff. We not focus on the space. Now, what is the ever-growing light? The ever-growing light is the light within you that you don't want so many stuff around you. You want to put it away, throw it away, give it to people, or put it neatly so it doesn't get on your way. And we open the more windows, let the air flow in. We open the door, we get the garage door open, get the door, the garden doors open. So we have more air, more space, and more light. That is the ever-growing light. But usually the darkness growing faster than the light. And the darkness always come under the label that it's necessary. We need it. And then the need become the one at some point that we don't even realize it. So now, go back to the practice. The ever-present true mind and the ever-growing lights is something that in our tradition we practiced. And we say the ever-present light here is, ever-present mind here is the limitless light. Is represent as limitless lights. And the ever-growing light is, we call them the body mind. The body mind. And of course, out of this darkness, they are the afflictions, and they all the desire and everything with the I, with the self. Everything connect with that. Everything with connect with the ownership, with possession, so on and so forth. And so you start to understand that there's the ever-growing darkness and the ever-growing light is very competing. They're competing each other for our attention. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. So now let's take a look at this one, and you see that I put the ever-present true mind and the ever-growing light in one place, and it's called self-practice. Self-practice. This is when we sit and we meditate and we look within and we discover the true mind, and we will grow the light within. This is our practice. We practice to realize it. So we can realize the true mind, yes, and we realize it by, we call activate our own awareness, our awareness. And we have the whole practice of doing that, just to activate the awareness of the true mind. And we also help to grow the body mind. Ever-growing light is increased. We increase the ever-growing light by cultivate or practice, nurture, cultivate, or we nurture the seed of light. Nurture the seed of light is another way of cultivate the body mind. This is the seed of light, so it becomes the limitless light. So here, this is limitless light. So there. So these two practices are pretty much connected with each other because we cultivate the ever-growing lights, and we get to be aware of or enlightened to the ever-present true mind, and it is non-dualistic. However, the growing light, you can also say, is non-dualistic, but it begin, then it very much had an object and subject. At the beginning of the practice, you don't see it non-dualistic yet. At the practice, you need to have the seed. You need to have the seed. This is the body mind. You need to see it. But it grows, and your awareness gone out of that dualism, and you submerge yourself and see yourself in the light, and you recognize the light is you. It's a beautiful practice that you start out with the visualization and a very definitive way of practice to have it. Now, in terms of cultivating with others, then you reduce ever-growing darkness, and this is through your own life, on your living, your practice. And most of the time, the darkness is in the hatred, the anger, and you can name it, and all this affliction. We call all of them afflictions. And all these afflictions arise from this selfishness and this egocentrism, and they usually lead to the entanglement. Entanglement is basically that we call them just simply emotional knots. Our relationship with somebody else, now we see that's a knot, that's something that's stuck. We cannot empathize each other, and this is the very key to understanding that in Buddhism, in the past, people said you liberate from the samsara. But now we can say that we can liberate from this entanglement, because this entanglement ties it down to the samsara. So there we go. So you see this is kind of theory, but now let's get to the practice. How do we practice it? Now let's go to the next page. So here is the Dharma that we cultivate. So here's the actual Dharma. The actual Dharma that we cultivate for the ever-present true mind. Then we cultivate the seed arapachana. We activate the awareness of the ever-present light. So this is doable. It's doable. And it is very important because this is a practice that is not happened today. It has been done and practiced by many generations of the masters. So now we cultivate to realize it, to activate it, the thousand petal lotus. I'm sorry, the Arapachana. This side I'm talking about here. But if we want to grow the light, then we cultivate this Dharma thousand petal lotus. And for now, you may not see it right away, but let me take you to the actual practice and you can see it. Let's get to this actual practice. So the actual practice is this. First of all, you sit in here and you realize that underneath is the subconscious realm. So as you want to cultivate, the first thing you do is you have to clear a section, and that section is where you put this, we call the ground of goodness. So that's the very first thing you do. You cultivate the ground of goodness. So you cultivate the ground of goodness. That's the first thing you do. And then after you cultivate the ground of goodness, you collect all the goodness from many lives, and this life you connect them. And then you start to do the second thing. And the second step, it's the same here. You do this next one. You grow one lotus, only one lotus. Say that lotus would be the red lotus, the lotus that reduce our anger. So this is the second one. Is you grow the red lotus. And why do you do that? Because you want to reduce the anger, the kind of irrational behavior, always get angry when things doesn't go our way. So that is the second one. And you see, it's only one lotus, but maybe you cultivate a little bit more than this one lotus. You say you cultivate like the third level here, then maybe you cultivate the red lotus and red and white lotus. Okay, so now we draw another one. Here another one. And that is another white lotus right here. Okay. So, but the lotus represent what? The lotus is the Bodhi mind. And the minds rise out of darkness and into the light, right? And it's give you a sense of transcending. It's getting out of the mud, the water, into the space. So lotus is very good symbolism, images that how we transcend, how we get up and out into the space of the emptiness. So you see, you start to see the two lotuses now. Let us move to the next level where we gonna have maybe 3 lotuses. Okay, let me try to make it smaller, right? This here, and bring it down here, and now we can bring this right here. So you grow red, blue, and white lotus. Now that's the third one, third level. And we need to have the blue lotus somewhere here. Here, the blue lotus. And so this is also very critical when you look at here. You untie the entanglements in relationship and cultivate kindness, compassion, and all that. But in the process of untie the knot, there's something that we need to mention, and that is we put resolve the debts, and we name them like the monetary, like blood debt, like emotional debt. Those are the kind of debts that we want to, and sometimes we need to repay the the kindness. Someone helped us and we need to resolve those debts. So monetary debts, blood debt, emotional debt, kindness. Blood debt meaning somebody else, you take somebody else's life, you kill someone. Emotional debts meaning you promise something emotionally. For example, I want to marry you, for example. And you owe a favor is a kindness, so you return favor. Favor is a kind of debt. So here. Now you see, you have 4 lotuses dealing with that 4 debts. And finally we have the last one. And the last one is copy. And we're going to put on the last one. Okay, let me try to bring the whole thing here into here. Okay, wonderful. There we go. So we have all 4 lotuses here. So we have all 4 lotuses, and we realize that this is the Dharma. It grows like that, but is it the end of it? Not yet. Not yet the end of it. But when you come into the practice, you can practice either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It's up to you. You can just practice 1 and this is enough. You don't need to practice further. Only 1. Now if you choose to do all the lotus, and here let me write the 4th lotus here, and the 4th lotus is purple, or we call green. Green is good. This is purple lotus. Now if you think that, okay, I want to cultivate 2 lotuses, so that's good. Yeah, sure, you can do 2. And then if you ask, but how do we cultivate these lotus? Shouldn't we have certain kind of non-outflow seeds? Yes, you have non-outflow seeds. And so now we supply the non-outflow seed. And here we go. You can put the non-outflow seed here. And the non-outflow seed here. So each of these lotus actually coming from the na. So the na coming down, and it grows into the lotus. So in other words, you can cultivate many, I don't need to, there we go. So we have the na. So you see that every level have a different, and then the next level is we take this and we make it into 1,000 petal lotus. Now this 4 lotus here, now you cultivate, you make them all converge. And they converge and they become one single lotus, but it's huge. Okay, so that's is one single lotus. And the single lotus here, we need to cultivate to have the Buddha. And you have all the syllables that you need to practice here. And that one Buddha here now, it would be like this. This lotus will keep growing into this lotus. And you have 1,000 of them, 1,000 the layer. So it's not just one, but this is called 1,000 petal. 1,000 petal lotus. So here. So you see the cultivation, right? And the Buddha itself is, at first you see the shape, but then the Buddha itself is just simply the light. And that is the limitless light. Even the lotus become the light. Now, and that explain to you the Dharma, 1,000-petal lotus, cultivate the body and mind, but the ending of that practice, you become limitless light. That's the end of it. Now, if you cultivate Arapachana, then you can instantly realize that limitless light as well. And so this practice here, what we try to convey to you is this: there are steps that you take slowly to get to the 1,000-petal lotus. It's not a one shot, but it takes you time to do this. Now, so let's go back to this picture here. If you take a look at this one here, you probably now understand that the Dharma that we try to teach you and try to get you to practice along every week is that we build up the path, the pathway, the steps that you can go from the very, very primary, very simple step of building the ground of goodness, and then slowly build one flower, and slowly you get to 4 flowers, slowly you get to 10,000 petal lotus, and then become limitless light. So a lot of people was saying, yeah, oh Thầy, it's too much for me, I cannot handle it. Of course, you need to spend time, considerable time to do the practice, but that's what it's about. So it is no instant noodle for us, and you can become the Buddha overnight. It takes deep practice, and in that deep practice, in every step, if you cultivate the ever-present true mind, then you have an instant realization in every single step. This is instant realization. In every step. Instant realization in every step. But this have to go with the gradual practice. The gradual practice. And it have to go in hand with living experience. All of them have to go together in order to be complete. And though the system asks that you need to know how to untie the relationship, untie meaning don't make your relationship become so difficult to bear, unbearable. And try to resolve all the debts that you have with people in your relationship. Cultivate kindness, compassion, joy, giving, and forgiving. And learn to give. Life is giving, life is charity. So learn how to practice charity in life. But when you come together like that, you see the whole thing, the big picture like this, then you see that, yeah, the path makes sense. Why we cultivate? Because it makes sense. Because every step that you do, you be home in every step. You instantly realize the non-dualities are here right now. And yet, you do the gradual practice. And that you need to go out there and live a life that you can experience what you practice inside. So it's a whole complete system, very holistic, and helps you to see through the darkness in your heart, but also see the light in your spirit. So thank you for listening, and I hope you understand that is the kind of big pictures of our path, our teaching, because this roadmap here help us to create the online school, but it also help us to determine that the practice is good, that we can go, we follow, we practice every step, and we know that we're not going the wrong path. We know that this path is can be verified by the teachers of the past and even now. Something that we would like to offer the training for all of you, so you can take a step and you can start from the very easy step the cultivate the ground of goodness and cultivate slowly, slowly until there. And yet there's a lot more stuff. I'm just simplify the path. All right, I see you next time. Thank you very much.